Morning light streamed through the tall windows of Temple University's library, where Cordelia Harris was poring over a social psychology textbook. At 19, she had already come to understand that Philadelphia was a city of contrasts, where student neighborhoods rubbed shoulders with business districts and historic architecture intermingled with modern skyscrapers. Cordelia was a typical sophomore, always a little tired from juggling school and work, but enthusiastic about her future career as a psychologist. Her dark hair was casually pulled back in a ponytail, and she wore no makeup, preferring a natural look. "Cordy, are you here again from morning till night?" The voice belonged to Marcus Trey, a fellow psychology student. The 20-year-old guy approached her table, carrying coffee from the vending machine. Marcus was one of those students who seemed to know everyone. Tall and athletic, he played on the university basketball team and worked part-time as a coach at a local sports club. He had a habit of showing up next to Cordelia when she was studying in the library. "Just getting ready for Professor Adams's seminar," she replied, without looking up from her book. "Maybe we should take a break, or better yet, help each other with our prep." Cordelia smiled politely. "Thanks, but I'd rather focus on my own." After Marcus left, she gathered her things and headed to work. The Philadelphia Beans coffee shop was a 10-minute walk from the university, a cozy place popular with students and locals. "Late again, Harris," Alex Norman, the coffee shop manager, joked as she walked in through the back door. Alex was 28, had been working there for 5 years, and treated the student employees like a big brother. Alex was a short, stocky man with tattoos on his forearms and a permanent 3-day stubble. He grew up in a working-class neighborhood of Philadelphia, didn't go to college, but was smart and ambitious. Sometimes Cordelia noticed him lingering on her with his gaze as she made coffee for customers. "Sorry, the seminar ran late," she apologized, tying her apron. The workday passed as usual. Among the regular customers was Daniel Morgan, a graduate student in history, who ordered a double espresso every day and sat at a table by the window with his laptop. Daniel was 24 and was writing a dissertation on 19th century urban architecture. Tall, thin, and wearing thin-rimmed glasses, he was always immersed in his work, but sometimes he tried to strike up a conversation with Cordelia about her studies. "How's psychology going?" he asked as she served him his coffee. "It's interesting to study human behavior," she replied. "How's your dissertation coming along?" "Slowly, but surely. By the way, if you're interested in the history of the city, I can show you some archives of old photographs." Cordelia thanked him, but politely declined the offer. Finishing her shift at 7 in the evening, she returned to the rented apartment she shared with Sarah Johnson. Sarah was a year younger, studied journalism, and worked for the student newspaper. The girls had become friends in the dorm during their first year and decided to rent an apartment together. "How was your day?" Sarah asked, without looking up from her laptop. "The usual. School, work." Cordelia flopped down on the couch. "How about you?" "I'm writing an article about safety in student neighborhoods. You know, there have been a few incidents of harassment of female students recently." After dinner, Cordelia decided to take a break from her studies. She picked up her phone and opened the Tinder app, which she had installed a month ago on Sarah's insistence. "You need to socialize more with people outside of university," her friend had said. "You can't just sit around with your books all the time." Cordelia scrolled through the profiles. Most of the guys looked typical for their age. Selfies in the gym, photos from parties, banal descriptions. She was picky and in no hurry to write to anyone. Suddenly, her attention was drawn to Jaden Cole's profile. 20 years old, a business administration student, interested in photography and movies. In the main photo, he was standing by the Schuylkill River against the backdrop of the sunset. The shot was professional and atmospheric. The description read, "Looking for sincere conversations about life, dreams, and good movies. I don't like superficiality." Cordelia swiped right. A few minutes later, a match notification popped up. Jaden wrote first. "Hi, I saw that you're studying psychology. It must be fascinating to understand how the human mind works. Cordelia replied, "Hi. Yes, it's an interesting field. What attracts you to business?" "To be honest, I'm more interested in people than numbers. I plan to go into marketing, where it's important to understand consumer psychology." She enjoyed the conversation. Jaden asked thoughtful questions about her studies and talked about his passion for photography. He didn't use vulgar jokes or cliched pickup lines, which set him apart from the other guys on the app. "What's your favorite movie?" he wrote. "Spike Jonze's Her. What's yours?" "Great choice. Mine is A Beautiful Mind. It seems we have similar tastes." Cordelia felt intrigued. Finally, someone who could hold a conversation about serious things. They chatted for about an hour. Jaden turned out to be a well-read and thoughtful conversationalist. He asked about her plans for the weekend, and when she mentioned that she wanted to visit the art museum, he offered to accompany her. "It would be great to meet in person, if you're comfortable with that," he wrote. "We could go to the art museum and then have coffee and discuss our impressions." Cordelia thought about it. The offer sounded harmless and cultured. After several unsuccessful dates with classmates, she wanted to meet someone new. "Good idea. Shall we meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the museum entrance?" "It's a date. See you soon, Cordelia." She turned off her phone, feeling slightly excited. Maybe Sarah was right about dating apps. Saturday was sunny, and Cordelia decided to walk to the art museum. On the way, she observed the bustling life of Philadelphia. Street musicians in the squares, tourists with maps, students rushing about their business. The city never slept, and that was its special energy. At the museum entrance, she saw Jaden. He looked exactly like his photos. Medium height, athletic build, neatly styled brown hair. He was wearing a simple denim shirt and dark jeans. He was holding a professional camera in his hand. "Cordelia?" He approached her with a smile. "Hi, Jaden. Are you taking pictures for your studies?" "More for my own pleasure. I like to capture moments, people's emotions." He showed her the camera. "Do you mind if I take some pictures?" "Of course. I'll ask permission." They bought tickets and began to explore the exhibition. Jaden turned out to be a pleasant conversationalist. He knew a lot of interesting things about art and asked thoughtful questions about how different paintings could affect the human psyche. Cordelia noticed that he listened attentively and remembered what she said. "Look at this portrait," he said, pointing to an 18th century work. "What do you think the model was feeling when she posed?" Judging by her posture and facial expression, boredom or even irritation, Cordelia analyzed. Aristocrats of that time often viewed portraits as a duty rather than a pleasure. "That's an interesting point of view. Do you like having your picture taken?" "Not particularly. I prefer to observe others rather than be the object of observation." After the museum, they went to a small cafe nearby. Jaden ordered a cappuccino. Cordelia ordered tea with lemon. The conversation flowed easily, about movies, books, plans for the future. Jaden said he had moved to Philadelphia from the suburbs, lived in a dormitory, and worked part-time as a courier for a food delivery service. "The job isn't very prestigious, but it allows me to get to know the city better," he explained. "I deliver orders to different areas and meet people. And I work at a coffee shop near the university. It's also interesting to observe the regular customers. It's probably good practice for a future psychologist to study people's behavior in a natural environment." Cordelia nodded. Jaden really understood her interests. The date lasted about 3 hours. Jaden walked her to the bus stop, and they exchanged phone numbers. "I really enjoyed myself," he said. "I'd like to see you again." "I enjoyed it too," Cordelia replied honestly. On Monday, she returned to her usual routine. In social psychology class, Marcus Trey sat next to her again. "How was your weekend? I hope you didn't just spend it studying," he asked during the break. "I went to the art museum." "By yourself?" Cordelia hesitated to answer, and Marcus noticed. "I see. Well, I'm glad you're having fun." There was a slight hint of resentment in his voice. The situation was similar at work in the coffee shop. Alex Norman was joking with the staff as usual, but Cordelia noticed that he was picking on her work more often. "Harris, the coffee is too weak," he said, after tasting a drink she had made for a customer. "Alex, I followed the recipe exactly. Make it again. And anyway, you've been kind of distracted lately." Daniel Morgan, a graduate student in history, had also noticed the change. "You look different," he said, ordering his usual double espresso. "More content with life. I just slept well over the weekend. I thought maybe there was someone special." Daniel tried to sound joking, but Cordelia sensed something more than simple curiosity in his words. Meanwhile, her correspondence with Jaden was actively developing. He wrote every day. In the morning, he wished her luck with her studies. In the evening, he asked how her day had gone. His messages were thoughtful, and sometimes he sent photos he had taken around the city. "I saw this sunset from the roof of my dorm and thought of you," he wrote, attaching a beautiful photo of the city skyline. "Very beautiful. You are a really talented photographer." "Thank you. I want to show you my favorite places in the city. Maybe we can meet up this week?" Cordelia agreed. They agreed to meet on Wednesday evening at Rittenhouse Square, one of the most beautiful parks in downtown Philadelphia. Wednesday was rainy, but by evening the sky had cleared. Jaden suggested taking a walk in the park and then going to a small Italian restaurant nearby. "I often come here to take pictures," he said, pointing to the fountain in the center of the square, "especially in the evening when the lights come on." Dinner was pleasant. Jaden was gallant and attentive. He held her coat, chose a table by the window, and asked her opinion about the dishes. He told her more about his family. His parents divorced when he was 16. He lived with his mother in the suburbs, but dreamed of living independently in the big city. "Philadelphia offers opportunities that small towns don't," he explained. "Here you can be who you want to be without worrying about what your neighbors think." Cordelia shared her plans to become a clinical psychologist and help people cope with difficulties. "You're a very compassionate person," Jaden remarked. "There aren't many people like that." After dinner, he walked her to public transportation. They hugged goodbye. It was their first physical contact. "I really like you, Cordelia," he said quietly. On Thursday morning, she received a long message from him. "I can't stop thinking about last night. You're so special. I've never met a girl I can talk to about everything. I want to get to know you better, to know all your thoughts, dreams, and fears. Is it normal to be so attracted to someone after only a few meetings?" Cordelia reread the message several times. On the one hand, it was nice to feel such attention. On the other hand, something in his tone seemed too intense for such a short acquaintance. She replied more cautiously, "I enjoy talking to you too, but let's not rush things. We need to get to know each other gradually." On Friday, an unpleasant incident occurred at work. Alex Norman stayed after the coffee shop closed and asked Cordelia to stay for inventory. "We need to count the coffee beans in the warehouse," he said. They were working in the back room when Alex suddenly stood very close to her. "Cordelia, I've wanted to tell you for a long time that I like you, not just as a coworker. Alex, I appreciate our working relationship, but I've noticed how you've changed lately. Is there someone else?" Cordelia felt uncomfortable with his directness. "That's personal. Can we just stay colleagues?" Alex backed off, but there was annoyance in his eyes. "Of course. Forget what I said." The next day, Marcus Trey invited her to a party that was taking place in the student dormitory. "It'll be fun. Music, games, meeting new people. You need to socialize more with your classmates." Cordelia agreed, deciding that it was indeed worth expanding her social circle. The party was noisy and crowded. Marcus introduced her to his friends from the basketball team, but he stayed by her side all evening, bringing her drinks and trying to get her attention. "You look very beautiful tonight," he said, as they danced to slow music. Cordelia thanked him, but tried to keep her distance. Towards the end of the party, Marcus offered to walk her home. "Thanks, but I can get there myself. It's late. It's not safe for a girl to be out alone." "It's okay, Marcus." His face darkened. "I see. The guy you're dating now probably doesn't allow you to socialize with your friends?" "No one forbids me anything. I'm just tired." Cordelia left the party with an unpleasant feeling. The city was big, with many opportunities, but for some reason, the men around her began to behave strangely as soon as they sensed she might have a personal life. Monday began with a series of messages from Jaden. The first came at 6 in the morning. "Good morning, beautiful. I dreamed about our last date." Then at 7, "I hope you slept well." At 7:30, "What are you planning for breakfast?" Cordelia read them on her way to the university and felt slightly irritated. Jaden had started texting too often, taking an interest in every little detail of her day. At first, it seemed like he cared, but now it was starting to feel suffocating. In her cognitive psychology class, she noticed a new student. Professor Adams introduced him as Kyle Reeves, who had transferred from another university. Kyle looked older than the other students. He was about 23, with dark hair and a serious expression. After the lecture, he approached Cordelia. "Excuse me, can I ask you about the homework? I'm trying to catch up." "Sure. We're currently covering theories of attention and perception." Cordelia explained the main topics. "Thanks. I'm Kyle, by the way." Cordelia: "Why did you transfer?" "Family circumstances. I had to move to Philadelphia." He spoke a little reluctantly, as if the subject was painful. In the library, Cordelia noticed Marcus watching her from behind a bookcase. When their eyes met, he pretended to be looking for literature, but she realized that he had been following her conversation with Kyle. Her phone vibrated with new messages from Jaden. "How was the lecture? Who did you talk to after class? Is that guy new?" Cordelia frowned. How could he know about Kyle? Had he been watching the university? The atmosphere at work in the coffee shop was tense. Alex Norman had become colder after their conversation on Friday. He gave orders curtly and avoided informal communication. But Cordelia noticed him watching her out of the corner of his eye. Around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, an unfamiliar man entered the coffee shop. He was tall, athletic, and wearing a suit. He ordered an Americano and sat down at a table, glancing at Cordelia from time to time. When she served him his coffee, he smiled. "Are you a student? I work nearby at the law firm Hubbard & Partners." He handed her his business card. "Ryan Hubbard, junior partner." Cordelia: "Yes, I study at Temple University." "Interesting. What's your major?" "Psychology." "A useful field. We sometimes work with psychologists on family matters." Ryan was pleasant to talk to, but Cordelia noticed that he was asking a lot of personal questions. "How long have you been working here? Do you live alone or with your family?" Alex appeared nearby. "Harris, we need to do inventory." Ryan took the hint and left, but before leaving, he approached the counter again. "It was nice to meet you. If you need legal advice, feel free to contact me." After he left, Alex said, "Be careful with guys like that. Grown men who hit on college girls are usually hiding something." That evening, Cordelia met with Sarah at their apartment. "How's it going with the guy from Tinder?" her friend asked as she prepared dinner. "It's hard to say. At first everything was fine, but now he's become too pushy." "What do you mean?" "He texts me constantly and asks about every little thing. Today he somehow found out that I was talking to a new classmate. I didn't tell him about it." Sarah frowned. "Maybe he's following you on social media?" "Maybe, but it's annoying." "What about the other guys? Is that basketball player from your class still trying to court you?" "Marcus has become strange. It's like he's watching me. And my boss at work has also been acting weird since he confessed his feelings for me." "Men don't know how to take rejection," Sarah sighed. "By the way, I'm writing an article about student safety. I've interviewed several girls, and many of them have had problems with harassment." On Wednesday, Cordelia decided to have a frank conversation with Jaden. They met at the same cafe where they had their second date. "Jaden, I need to tell you something." "Of course, anything." He leaned closer, looking at her intently. "Lately, your messages have become too frequent. I appreciate your attention, but I need more personal space." His expression changed. "Am I doing something wrong?" "I just want to communicate more calmly, without constant questions about where I am and who I'm with." "But I'm interested in your life. Is that so bad?" "Interest is good, but there are limits." Jaden was silent, staring out the window. Then he turned to her. "I understand. Maybe I did go too far. It's just that I really like you." The conversation continued more calmly, but Cordelia felt that something had changed. Jaden became more reserved, but she noticed how he studied her face, as if trying to understand her hidden thoughts. The next day at university, Kyle approached her again after class. "Would you like to grab a coffee? I'd like to discuss the material on perception." They were sitting in the student cafe when Cordelia noticed a familiar figure at the entrance. Marcus was standing by the door, looking in their direction. Noticing that she had seen him, he quickly left. "A friend?" Kyle asked, following her gaze. "A classmate. He's been acting strange lately." "Maybe he's jealous?" Cordelia shrugged, but thought Kyle might be right. On Friday evening, she received a message from an unknown number. "Hi, this is Ryan from the coffee shop. I got your number from a colleague. I wanted to invite you to dinner." Cordelia was confused. How did he get her number? Alex couldn't have given it to him without permission. She texted Alex, "Did you give my number to a client?" "Which client?" "The lawyer who came in on Wednesday." "No, of course not. Maybe he got it somewhere else?" It was strange and unsettling. On Saturday, Cordelia decided to have a difficult conversation with Jaden. She arranged to meet him in a public place, a small park near the university. "Jaden, I've been thinking a lot about our relationship," she began as they sat down on a bench. "And what conclusion did you come to?" His voice was tense. "I think we got too close too fast. I'd like to take a break, think about what I really want." Jaden was silent for a long time, staring at the ground. "Is it because of that guy from the faculty? Or because of someone else?" "It's not because of other people. I just need time." "How much time?" "I don't know. Maybe we should just be friends for now?" "Friends." He repeated the word as if tasting it. "Jaden, you're a good person, but not good enough for you?" "That's not it." He stood up from the bench. "I get it. So it's over." "Not necessarily forever." "Of course." Jaden walked toward the park exit without looking back. Cordelia was left alone, feeling both relieved and sad. The relationship hadn't worked out, but she had done the right thing. That evening, she told Sarah about the breakup. "How did he react?" "Calmly, but I could see he was upset." "Well, maybe it's for the best. Obsessiveness is a red flag." On Sunday morning, Cordelia woke up to a phone call. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello? Hi, it's Kyle. Sorry to call so early. I can't find the materials for tomorrow's seminar. Can you help?" They agreed to meet at the library in an hour. As she was getting ready to leave, Cordelia glanced out the window and noticed a familiar figure across the street. The man was standing by a lamppost, looking at her house. The distance was too great to make out the face, but the silhouette seemed familiar. When she left the house, the stranger had disappeared. On the way to the library, Cordelia couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She turned around several times but saw no one suspicious. Kyle was waiting for her at the library with books and notes. "Thanks for coming. I'm really confused about the material." They worked for 2 hours, and Cordelia noticed that Kyle was an intelligent and thoughtful student. He asked profound questions about psychological theories and shared interesting observations. "You know the subject well," she said. "I have a personal interest in psychology. There were problems in my family." Cordelia didn't ask for details, but she thought that everyone around her seemed to have their own secrets and problems. As she left the library, she felt someone's gaze on her again. Turning around, she saw Daniel Morgan at the next table. He quickly buried his nose in his thesis, but it was clear that he had been watching them. Cordelia spent Sunday evening at home, preparing for class. Her thoughts were confused. There were too many men around her who were showing increased interest, and not all of their actions seemed innocent. Tuesday, October 15th. Cordelia was returning home after her evening shift at the coffee shop. The autumn air was cool, and the streets of the student district were dimly lit by streetlights. She walked along her usual route through a small park between the university and the residential area. Halfway home, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around but saw no one, only the shadows of trees and an empty alley. Cordelia quickened her pace, but the feeling that someone was nearby did not leave her. She stopped at the fountain in the center of the square to reply to Sarah's message. At that moment, a familiar figure emerged from behind the trees. "Cordelia?" She looked up, recognizing the voice. Her heart beat faster. This person's presence here in the dark seemed out of place. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to talk to you." The conversation was short but tense. Cordelia tried to remain polite, but made it clear that she wanted to go home. She turned toward the park exit. The next few minutes would be the last of her life. Wednesday, 6:30 a.m. A jogger named Tommy Fisher was doing his morning run in the same park. The man, in his 40s, a city employee, had been running the same route every morning for 3 years. Near the fountain, he saw what he initially mistook for a sleeping homeless person. As he got closer, he realized his mistake. The body of a young woman was lying on the grass at the base of the fountain. The jogger took out his phone and dialed 911. 911, what's the emergency?" "I found a body. The girl is dead." The first patrol car arrived 7 minutes later. Officers Jones and Patterson cordoned off the scene with yellow tape and called for detectives. By 7:15 a.m., the park was filled with police cars, an ambulance, and a coroner's vehicle. Detective Maria Rivera arrived at 7:30. A 34-year-old woman of average height with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, she had been working in the homicide division for 8 years. During that time, she had investigated more than 50 murder cases, and experience had taught her to study the crime scene carefully. "What do we have?" she asked Officer Jones. "A 19-year-old girl, presumably a student. The documents indicate Cordelia Harris. The body was discovered around 6:30 a.m. by a jogger. The coroner preliminarily estimates the time of death to be between 10 p.m. and midnight." Rivera approached the body. Cordelia was lying on her back next to a fountain, her arms spread out to the sides. There were no visible signs of a struggle, but a detailed examination would reveal more information. A bag with documents and a phone lay nearby. "Any witnesses?" "Not yet. We're interviewing residents of the nearby houses." "Surveillance cameras?" "There's one at the entrance to the park, but it hasn't been working for 2 months. We're checking the cameras on nearby buildings." Detective Rivera began her examination of the scene. She noticed that the victim's bag had not been robbed. Her wallet and phone were untouched. This indicated that the motive for the murder was not robbery. By 9 a.m., the forensic team had arrived. The experts began collecting evidence, fingerprints, DNA samples, and photographs of the scene from different angles. Rivera examined the contents of Cordelia's phone. The last message was sent at 9:47 p.m. to Sarah Johnson with the text, "Heading home, see you later." "We need to find this Sarah," the detective said to her partner, Detective Thomas Chen. At 10:30 a.m., the detectives arrived at Cordelia's apartment. Sarah Johnson opened the door, still unaware of the tragedy. "Miss Johnson, we are detectives with the Philadelphia Police Department. May we come in?" Sarah let them in, noticing their serious expressions. "Is this about Cordelia? She didn't come home last night and I'm worried." Rivera gently broke the news. Sarah's reaction was natural: shock, tears, disbelief. Who could have done this? She had no enemies. Tell us about her relationships, her friends, her work. Sarah told them about Jaden, with whom Cordelia had recently broken up, about her co-workers and her classmates. She said she felt uncomfortable. Several guys started acting strangely after they found out about her relationship. Can you name them? Marcus Trey from the university, Alex Norman, her boss at the coffee shop, and there was also a graduate student named Daniel or something. The detective wrote down each name. Marcus Trey was the first to be questioned. The 20-year-old basketball player came to the police station voluntarily after learning of his classmate's death. "I can't believe Cordelia is dead," he said, sitting in the interrogation room. "She was a good person." "Tell us about your relationship with Miss Harris." "We studied together. I invited her to parties, wanted to date her." "How did you react to her refusal?" "I was upset, of course, but I understood her choice." "Where were you last night between 10 and 12? "I was working out at the gym until 9:30. Then I was in the dorm. I can give you my roommate's contact information." The alibi had to be checked. Alex Norman looked nervous when he arrived at the station. "She worked until 9 last night. I closed the coffee shop and walked her to the bus stop." "What time did you part ways?" "Around 9:15 p.m. I offered her a ride, but she said she would get there on her own." "Did you go straight home?" "Yes. I stopped at a 24-hour store to get some groceries. I should have the receipt." "What can you tell us about her personal life?" Alex told him about Jaden, about his confession to Cordelia and her rejection. "I knew she had someone. I just wanted her to know how I felt." Daniel Morgan, a graduate student in history, was next. "Cordelia was a nice girl. I often went to the coffee shop where she worked." "Did you have a romantic interest in her?" "I offered to show her the city's historical archives, but purely as a friend." "Where were you last night?" "At the library until 10 p.m., working on my dissertation. Then I went home." "Who can confirm you were at the library?" "The librarian on duty, other students. I signed in when I entered." Jaden Cole was the last of the first group of suspects to arrive at the station. He looked depressed. "I can't believe what happened. We recently broke up, but I only wanted the best for her." "Tell us about the reasons for the breakup." "Cordelia said I was too clingy. Maybe she was right. I became very attached to her." "How did you react to the breakup?" "It hurt, but I understood her decision." "Where were you last night?" "I worked as a courier until 9 p.m. Then I was in the dorm, playing video games with my roommate." "Did you try to contact Cordelia after the breakup?" Jaden paused. "I sent her a couple of messages. I wanted to make sure everything was okay between us." By the end of the day, the detectives had gathered preliminary information on 4 main suspects. Each had a reason to meet with Cordelia, and each had an alibi that needed to be verified. "Too many men in her life showed an increased interest in her," Rivera noted as she reviewed the interrogation records. "And they all claim to have taken her rejections calmly," Chen added. "We need to dig deeper into their backgrounds, check their alibis, talk to witnesses." The investigation had only just begun, but the detectives understood that the killer was among those they had already questioned or among those they did not yet know about. Cordelia Harris's body was sent for examination. Tomorrow, the autopsy will provide more information about the cause of death and possible clues. Thursday morning, Detective Rivera received the preliminary autopsy results. Coroner David Kelly was an experienced specialist who had worked with the Philadelphia police for over 15 years. "The cause of death is asphyxiation," he reported. "The marks indicate the use of a rope or cord. Time of death is between 10 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. There are no signs of sexual assault. Dark fabric fibers were found under the victim's fingernails." "Signs of a struggle?" "Minimal. A few scratches on her hands, but nothing serious. Either the attack was sudden or the victim knew the killer." Rivera wrote down the information. A familiar killer narrowed the circle of suspects. Forensic examination of the crime scene provided additional data. A partial shoe print was found on the grass near the body. Men's sneakers, size 43. No other significant clues were found at the scene. The first thing the detectives did was check the suspect's alibis. Marcus Trey had indeed been training in the gym until 9:30 p.m. His coach and several athletes confirmed his presence. He was seen in the dormitory at 10 p.m., talking to his neighbors in the hallway until late in the evening. His alibi was confirmed. Daniel Morgan checked in at the university library at 7 p.m. and left at 10:15 p.m. The electronic pass system recorded his presence. The librarian on duty remembered that the graduate student had been working in the reading room until closing time. The alibi was also confirmed. Alex Norman walked Cordelia to the bus stop at 9:15 p.m. A security camera at a nearby store recorded his purchase at 9:45 p.m. The receipt confirmed the time, but between 9:15 and 9:45 p.m., he had free time, about 30 minutes. Not enough time to get to the park, kill someone, and return to the store, Rivera concluded after studying the routes. Jaden's alibi required more detailed verification. His roommate, Brad Kimmel, confirmed that Jaden returned from work around 9 p.m. and that they played video games. "What time did you finish playing?" Detective Chen asked. "Around 10:30. Then Jaden said he was going to bed." "So you didn't see him after 10:30 p.m.? "No, I went to bed at 11 myself." Jaden had time to get to the park after 10:30 p.m. The detectives delved deeper into the digital evidence. Analysis of phone records revealed an interesting pattern. After the breakup, Jaden sent Cordelia 17 messages in 4 days, although she only replied to 2 of them. The content of the messages was disturbing. "I can't live without you. Why aren't you responding? We can fix this. I see you talking to other guys. You belong to me." The last message was sent on Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. "I need to talk to you. Meet me at the park." Cordelia did not respond to this message. "There's your motive," Rivera said. "Obsessive behavior, unwillingness to accept rejection." Jaden's phone geolocation data showed that on Tuesday at 9:45 p.m., his device was in the vicinity of the park. Officially, he claimed he was in the dormitory. Detectives called Jaden in for further questioning. "Mr. Cole, we've found new evidence in the case." Jaden looked nervous. "What evidence?" "Your phone was in the park area on Tuesday evening, where the body was found." "That's a mistake. I was in the dorm." "We have cell tower data. We also looked at your messages to Cordelia after you broke up." Rivera showed him printouts of the messages. Jaden turned pale. "Why didn't you tell us that you asked her to meet you?" "I forgot about it." "You forgot that you texted the murder victim on the day she died?" Jaden remained silent, staring at the table. "Tell us the truth about Tuesday." A long silence. Then Jaden raised his head. "Okay, I did go to the park." "What time?" "Around 9:45 p.m. I wanted to talk to Cordelia." "And what happened?" "She came 10 minutes later. She was very cold. She said it was over between us for good." "How did you feel?" "Angry, hurt. I loved her so much." "And what happened next?" Jaden fell silent again. The detectives could see him struggling with himself. "Mr. Cole, we know you killed Cordelia. We have evidence. It's better if you tell us everything yourself." "I didn't mean to," Jaden shouted. "It was an accident." Rivera turned on the tape recorder. "Tell us how it happened." "She wanted to leave. She said she would call the police if I didn't leave her alone. I grabbed her arm and begged her to listen to me. She broke free and hit me. I got angry. I had a rope in my backpack, for sports. I didn't think, I just threw it around her neck. I just wanted to scare her, to make her listen. But you didn't stop. She stopped resisting very quickly. By the time I realized what had happened, it was too late." Jaden cried as he recounted the details. "Then I laid her down by the fountain and tried to revive her, but she wasn't breathing. I panicked and ran away." Detective Rivera called Professor David Mitchell, a criminal psychologist who advised the police on difficult cases. A classic case of obsessive-compulsive attachment, the psychologist explained after reviewing the case file. Jaden couldn't accept rejection and saw Cordelia as his property. When she finally broke up with him, his self-esteem collapsed. He really didn't plan the murder? Most likely not. It was an impulsive reaction to frustration, but his behavior after the breakup, obsessive messages, stalking, indicates a potentially dangerous personality. Jaden was arrested on charges of second-degree murder. A search of his dorm room turned up the rope used to commit the crime. It had traces of Cordelia's DNA on it. On Friday morning, Detective Rivera met with Cordelia's parents, who had flown to Philadelphia. The mother was crying. The father was clenching his fists in helpless rage. "Why couldn't he just leave her alone?" the mother asked. Rivera had no answer to that question. Over the years, she had seen many cases where men's inability to accept rejection led to tragedy. "He will be punished," she promised. Sarah Johnson also struggled to cope with the loss of her friend. Cordelia was a good person. She didn't deserve to die like that. The following week, local newspapers wrote about the case. University students organized a rally against relationship violence. The coffee shop where Cordelia worked installed a memorial plaque in her memory. Jaden Cole was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. At the trial, he apologized to Cordelia's family, but her parents could not forgive him. 20 years won't bring our daughter back, Cordelia's father told reporters after the verdict was handed down. Detective Rivera closed the case, but the memory of the 19-year-old student who just wanted to live a quiet life stayed with her for a long time. She was yet another victim of toxic masculinity and an inability to take no for an answer. Cordelia Harris's story serves as a reminder of how important it is to recognize warning signs in relationships and take threats seriously, even if they seem insignificant.